Hey guys, welcome to Yakuza Whips. This is episode 5. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 5 VIP chassis that are under 5K range.
Hi y'all, welcome back to this episode of Yakuza Whips. So today we're gonna go over our top 5 picks on the 5 most popular VIP chassis to build. And to start off, number 5, from Lexus GS 300, GS 400, GS 430, definitely owns the number 5 spot. Mainly because this car is super well known and a lot of people have been modifying these cars within the past 5 to 6 years. I've seen a lot of 2GSs popped up and parts are super available. And there's a wide variety of ranges for mods that you can go. You know, you could either go with the very affordable route or you could go super crazy, super balls out. You could go to Japan and order a full kit, you know, go full job design, you know, or even crazier, go full junction produce on these vehicles. You could go static, you could go bagged. They literally have every arm available for these chassis. You could go something with on a cheaper side like Megan, you know. I don't recommend running gas beats, but you could also go T-demand, you know, you could go super crazy negative camber, Oni camber on these setups. You could definitely build it to your taste and your budget. And so that's why we feel like the number 5 spot should definitely go towards the 1998 to the 2005 second gen GS 300.
Yeah, 100%. They come really close to home for Bo. He's built a super crazy one if you guys haven't seen that. Super doable platform, great suspension setup. It has a lot of the same Lexus family characteristics with the IS and the LS, with roll center adjuster, stuff like that for front camber. Can go super low on these chassis. You can do power mods with these chassis with 2J. Super doable platform for a lot of different styles of building. And I think it fits well with still being big enough to be considered VIP platform, but also still very moddable. And I think it's a very capable platform to do a lot of great stuff with.
Definitely. And I have actually owned 4 GS 300s actually.
A bunch.
And yeah, so only thing that really plagues this chassis is definitely the ball joint. I don't know if you ever own a 2GS, please replace that ball joint as soon as you get the car, and please replace that ball joint at least once every couple months.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how much you're driving the car, but if you're on big camber setup with these cars, fuck it. If you're daily driving this fucking car, man, change out your goddamn ball joint. I see way too many horror stories, way too many fenders have been lost for these. Like, man, come on, guys, get it together.
So GSs, I would say a couple years ago, you could easily find them for like, on a cheap side, you could even find them from like $1,000 to like, what, like 2,500. But nowadays, you know, a lot of people seen a lot more builds coming out with the second-gen GS. Prices has definitely been rising up, and nowadays, if you're trying to find like a decent clean one, you're looking to spend anywhere from like 2,500 to like what, 35, 4K.
Super clean examples can go for around 25 to even $4,000 I've seen for really clean ones. You can definitely source and find one for around the $1,500 to $2,000 range, depending on what you're looking for. Obviously bigger specs, stuff like that, like 400s are a little bit harder to find.
430s.
Yeah, 430s.
Is it 430 or 460? 430.
430, yeah.
Yep, GS 430s.
Also, you could talk about Aristo stuff. Aristo stuff is super common in the States nowadays.
Yeah.
Aristo front end stuff. I guess tails somewhat. I see those up quite often.
Yeah, and one big thing with these second gen GSs is you could literally take the Japanese spec 2JZ GTE engine and swap it directly into your car. And it literally takes very minimal amount of work, fabrication work, custom work. And it's a direct plug and play ECU if you run the stock factory turbos from the car. And it's very modest and, you know, very easy to maintain, and it's super easy to upgrade as well. Throw a big single on it, and you're easily 450, 500 horsepower.
Oh, all day.
And that stock transmission, you could still leave it in there. If you want to take it to the next level, throw in a manual CD009 swap from Collins adapter, and you're looking at like what, 700,000 horsepower, you could definitely handle it.
You could run it on those cars all day. Motors are super capable.
But now, like maybe a couple years ago, you could still find these motors for relatively cheap, for around 2K to 2,500. But nowadays, what, 2JZs have been skyrocketing like crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
I think Corona has definitely played a big part on it with shipping and stuff like that. But they are getting a lot more rare to find. If you're gonna run these cars, definitely keep them. Even I've seen a couple builds that were just GE turbo builds that aren't too bad. I mean, definitely there's some motor deficiency there, but you can definitely make it work if that's what you want to. Super budget cars, like you can definitely run some pretty crazy setups that aren't really hurting the bank as much as like an LS platform car. Definitely doable. So for our fourth pick, we got the F50 chassis slash like the Y34 chassis. You never really see these up for sale that often. There's kind of rare, hard to find stuff, especially in the States. I'm pretty sure Japan-wise, they're probably pretty common everywhere, but they didn't really do that well in the States. So kind of rare, hard to find. Parts for them also kind of rare, kind of hard to find if you don't know where you're looking for. But if you're looking for a Nissan-oriented chassis with Nissan suspension and stuff like that, super capable platform, super hit or miss. I mean, a lot of people like the way these look. I'm personally someone who loves the way Y34s look. A lot of people hate it, but these chassis can go super low, super big camber. And there's a lot of kit choices for these chassis, a lot of really rare pieces, stuff like that.
I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure some of the arms are interchangeable. The S chassis, is that correct?
Yeah. So pretty commonly on these cars, specifically Y34 runs 350Z rear arms, S13 front arms. As for Y32, Y33, not really sure if that's the same thing, but a big thing on these is S chassis arms for front, I know for sure, and then rears on these newer chassis. I think it's 350Z fits.
And so if you guys are looking to run some camber on a setup, you definitely have the option to purchase much more available arms with the S chassis.
Especially USDM wise. Finding parts for these not really sold cars in America can be hard, but a lot of people have done the research, they figured out the arm length, stuff like that. So you can run Megan arms, stuff like that for a more affordable price instead of only running strictly T-demand stuff. I mean, despite the quality differential, obviously, but onto the Y34 F50 range. I've seen F50s and Y34s go for dumb cheap. I've had a Y34 that I bought for $2,300. And I mean, it wasn't the cleanest example of them, but I've seen really clean examples of them going for $5,000 around there, $4,500, $5,000 for super clean ones. And if you can find them, man, you can hop on them, and they will always be super rare and never really seen. So if you wanna have that car that people don't really notice that often, if you want to see something that people have never really seen before, definitely both of these chassis are definitely really good for you.
So I guess we can move on to our number 3 spot. So we're gonna throw you guys a curveball on this one, on our third pick. Yeah. And this is definitely, in no sense, a traditional VIP build in any sense.
It's traditional out there.
Pretty traditional, but you don't really see people building VIP.
Well, in USDM's version, in US vision of VIP, you don't see them built.
Yep.
They're becoming more popular. People are starting to realize what a capable platform. We're talking about S500s, W140, S500 chassis, W220. They're becoming more popular recently. Super capable platform. They're built a lot out in Japan as of the era of early 2000s, and they're starting to make their way towards the States, and we think they're platforms that could be pushed pretty hard here. There's a couple people that come to mind when I think about it that are really paving the way for the game on them. You can start running bigger camber on these cars, running static, lower, a couple kits that are pretty rare. Walt has a kit for them, stuff like that. They're starting to get pushed a lot more.
Yeah, fun fact actually, the Yakuza in Japan in the early days, where people think that they're actually riding in these big Japanese sedans, they're actually riding in these big body Mercedes instead of, these Japanese sedans. Only, I would say, like the more, I would say, economical Yakuzas, they ride into Lexus.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a weird misconception, but I think Lexus is definitely the platform that pushed for more of this VIP aspect in the States. And I mean, I'm not mad about it, but
I definitely think the, Lexus brand has definitely pushed the VIP styling here in the States. Also in Japan as well. Some of the newer chassis that came out, definitely, seeing them just gliding on the ground, on some super dope wheels is definitely, made its way over to the States real fast.
100%. These cars have super reliable, pretty decent horsepower, big V8s in it. Just traditional big body stuff. Definitely comparable, pretty reliable cars as well.
And I don't know too much about the Mercedes chassis. How much do these things cost nowadays?
Dude, they're bone cheap. I've had a couple of them now. I've had one that I bought less than $500 cheap. They're not super popular yet. And if you want something super cheap that, I mean, looks baller, feels baller, these cars are massaging in cabin, got fridges left and right. Like, dude, super baller cars for dirt cheap right now. And once they become popular, I know they're gonna become super rare and hard to find. But you can get these from $1,000 most times. $1,000 to like $2,000 range for super clean examples of these cars. Definitely hop on them soon.
Yeah, you hear that, boys? Hop on these before they start getting hot.
Yes, sir. We're calling the trend now.
So now we're moving closer to the top 2 picks. And the number 2 pick, Isaac, you got this one.
You think I got this one?
I definitely
Number
think
2 pick, I'm thinking the Q45 Y33, Y32 chassis. A personally favorite for me, at least being a Nissan person. These cars are dope. Great suspension algorithms. Tons of aftermarket parts. Once again, like amazing kits left and right. Super capable of going extremely low static.
And these look like land whales when they're slammed.
Oh yeah, dude. These things are massive. Even, dude, great car.
So as far as suspension goes, let's say if you want to run a camber fitment setup on these, how are the prices for ARMS?
Hopefully Hunter doesn't cook me alive for this one, but you can find some cheap examples of it. I know a lot of bigger companies like Tiedemann obviously makes ARMS for these cars. There's a couple other big brands that come to mind. I'm pretty sure PBM also makes ARMS for these for a little bit cheaper. Obviously Megan, Godspeed definitely make ARMS for this. I know there's an S chassis swap for these ARMS as well, so you don't have to run the traditional Q45 ARMS specifically. You can run S chassis ARMS, and I'm not 100% sure how that swap goes. I've never owned one of these and done that, but I'm pretty sure it's fairly easy. I think you just swap out the ARMS. I don't think there's any subframe or anything going on. Maybe hub change, I'm not sure. But super capable car. You can do it for dirt cheap and get some big camber numbers. Definitely a lot of suspension mods that you can do for these cars.
So how much are these cars currently running for, would you say?
These cars are definitely ballpark pricing depending on your area. For the most part, at least in Colorado, California, Florida areas, you can find these cars for pretty dirt cheap. Clean examples around $2,000 to $4,000 around there for super clean examples. For anything rougher, I mean, these cars are pretty reliable. They have power steering issues, but if you can get past that, super reliable car, and you can get them for, lowest I've seen is around $800 pretty typically all the time.
So you definitely gotta just do some homework.
Yeah,
and you could definitely find
the,
some clean examples for a really good price.
Yeah, if you find the correct person, man, you can definitely get some work done.
Definitely. And I guess some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list that we're kind of contemplating. Definitely one that came to the top of my mind that I have recently seen a couple, I wouldn't say clean in any sense, but it's definitely in the budget for our price range that we're talking about. I definitely saw is the LS430 chassis. Definitely the first gen.
Yeah. Definitely on the beginning side of that era of 430. You can definitely find them for a little bit cheaper. Once again, it's an LS car, man. There's tons of nice kits for them, tons of ARMS, tons of potential there. I've seen a couple big people coming out and start hitting on that chassis, but it's not as big as the 1020 UCF cars. But definitely there's a lot of potential there. Super big cars, super luxurious. I think it's a rendition of the 1UZ, isn't it? I think it's like a 2UZ. Another honorable mention that came to my head at least is the BMW 7 Series. There's a couple different gens you can get, but definitely if you look around and shop around for these cars, I don't know much about them. I've never owned one, but super nice looking cars. You can definitely, I've seen a couple people run some pretty gangster stuff out of them. Definitely go pretty low on them for a German car.
Yep. I mean, to be honest, like any big body,
yeah, honestly,
slam on his nut
any
with
big
some
body
wheels.
I think is viable for this. But you can definitely find them for pretty cheap around here. You can find them for $1,000, $2,000 and pretty clean specs.
So we have some fans that actually brought this up to us, and they were wondering, and I do remember back in the late 90s and early 2000s, some of these Acura chassis actually be pretty big body, I would say. You know, from the early 90s, obviously you have your Acura Legend, you know, to start with. They have their coupe and their sedan, you know, and also you have your Acura RLs that I've been seeing popping up. You know, there's one in the Illuminate crew, that pearl white one, is actually super clean, and there's definitely some super clean examples in the Acura RL chassis as well. So I would say, you know, big bodies definitely work. You know, definitely expand your imagination. Don't be afraid to try some of the chassis that you might think might look good. You know, maybe it might become the next trend, you know?
Honestly, yeah. And I think just touching on the RL stuff, like it's not super traditional to run like an Acura VIP car, but in my personal opinion at least, super capable chassis. I love seeing them. Honestly, not a bad choice. If there was more of them around, at least where I live, I would definitely pick one up. They're super cool cars.
Yep. Are those cars front wheel drive?
Front wheel drive, 3.8.
But the only thing is, you know, I don't know, like, do you guys think VIP cars should be front wheel drive or rear wheel drive? You know,
the end all debate.
Leave your comment.
The end all debate. What makes it a VIP car to you? I definitely think there's going to be some purists that are like
only
big no
drive.
But I think honestly, at this point, I like seeing them, and I think they have a lot of potential.
So I guess we could definitely move up to our number one spot on the list, and I'm pretty sure everyone agrees with this one, and it's definitely the, say it at once. 3, 2, 1.
LS 400,
y'all.
Let's go, baby.
So this chassis, I don't know if y'all have ever been on YouTube and y'all watch the VIP videos of that Junction Produce LS like crew just like rolling out.
Yes,
like
sir.
That video has definitely, implanted in my mind till this day, and it's definitely still being shared around. And the LS UCF10, UCF20 chassis, although my personal favorite is definitely the 20 chassis with the updated, with the curvy headlights and definitely updated on the front bumper and rear bumper, definitely makes the car look a lot more sleek and elegant.
I'm definitely someone that's a 20 person as well. 10s are still classy. I super dig the 10 look as well. And dude, you can find these cars for super cheap, man.
Yeah, I mean, back when I first started messing with the VIP scene back in early 2009, I have been seeing like LS 400s back then going for like $600, like $1,000, which is insane. Like clean example too.
Yeah.
But then nowadays, like prices definitely have gone up. But hey, they're still within super good price range if you're first starting out on the VIP build. And as far as the potential goes, the limit is definitely limitless. I don't know if you guys seen Stance Nation Elvis's LS 400. That thing is insane.
Legendary status car.
Like the craziest part on the build, it's not even the fitment and the actual wheels or anything. It's definitely on the body line.
Yeah.
If you look at that car closely, you could actually see that Elvis actually smoothed out the original body lines and redid a new body line on the car and pretty much flowed that body line and it made it look super OEM. And I love that part about the build.
Dude, that car has some of the best body work I've ever seen. And after seeing that car in person, dude, the work speaks for itself. It is insane.
Yep. And in Japan, we definitely have, the Crystal Garage's LS 400, super insane. Like they even like raised the floor pans just to be lower, just to be driven low, and that kind of thing is definitely, where I see the LS chassis and the VIP builds as, a lot of people say, oh, VIP builds are just wheels and suspension.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a couple YouTubers and stuff like that. There's a lot more information on these chassis as of the last couple of years. And there's a couple YouTubers that come to mind, like Logan, Liam, a couple YouTubers that are doing floor raises, doing rear trunk tubs, doing front subframe raises, diff raises, stuff like that. That's all like insanely hard modification that is super diehard for being low, but it's needed on some of these cars, and they're bringing light to more of the mechanical aspect that these cars actually need.
Right.
And that stereotype is slowly getting pushed away, I think.
Right. I feel like there's definitely levels to this, like when everyone start out, they start out with wheel suspension, to get their fitment, and then you dive a little bit deeper. You're like, okay, so now how can I ride this low and stay this low without fucking my shit up? You know what I'm saying? And that's when you start diving into like the diff raise, the muffler tuck, the exhaust tuck to like, even sometimes you even cut your whole floor pan out, and some people even relocate the gas tank into the trunk on some chassis. Although on the UCF chassis, you guys are lucky. You guys have your gas tank in your back seat. So
there's a couple people I've seen go pretty crazy on it, but I think the biggest issues on these cars are definitely the tranny pan. Those go pretty quick. The diff, personally, ask me how I know. Those are hang pretty low, man. You got to raise them. But definitely a doable chassis. You can look pretty stunt for pretty cheap with just some suspension stuff and start getting crazier from there. I think there's tons of kits for these cars out. The list is endless. There's so much stuff. And arm-wise, it gets a little pricier on arms, but there's definitely some options out there.
Definitely.
Well, that was our top 5, guys. I definitely want to see what you guys have to say about this in the comments below. Definitely tell me what your guys' top 5 would be, what you guys would change about our list, or any chassis that we left out that you guys personally think definitely deserve to be on here. We are going to be making a couple more videos for different price ranges, so definitely look out for those.
And here's a go, Connie.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell for more episodes.